So next up, we have a presentation from OD6 Metals with the ticker code OD6, a company pursuing exploration and development opportunities within the critical mineral sector. To tell us more, today we are joined by Managing Director and CEO, Brett Hazelden. Good morning, Brett.
Morning. Thanks for everyone for joining.
Let me bring up your presentation.
So we'll skip through the first couple of slides and we'll get to slide 3. So obviously all the good important information there. But let's talk about the project and what we've got. We've got a rare clay-hosted rare earth discovery located near Esperance in Western Australia. Got 2 large tenement areas covering over 4,000 square kilometres. But our flagship project is really the Splinter Rock project on the right-hand side. And that's located just over 100 to 150 k's away from Esperance, where there's a large port, existing roads, etc. Importantly, at the Splinter Rock project, the grades that we're achieving are averaging well over 1,000 parts per million total rare earth oxide content, which is really what we think is going to be the minimum for these things to be economic going forward. And also importantly, the magnetic rare earths, so the dysprosium, the NdPr, the terbidium and dysprosium, are all averaging about 22% of the total rare earth content. And that's going to represent about 90% of the economic value going forward. So that's where the money comes from when we come to develop the project. Also importantly, 10 to 80 metre thick intersections near surface, so anywhere between 3 to 30 odd metres from surface. And those big thick intersections will give us a low stripping ratio, so a lower mining cost. I'll touch on metallurgy in a bit later, but 60 to 75% acid leach recoveries to date. Most of the peers in the area are averaging about 30 to 40%. We're expecting to be able to optimise that further, and we'll trade off a bit of recovery with a bit of operating costs going forward. But the clay basins we've identified, 250 square kilometres of basins. We've only drilled probably less than 5% of those, and we're getting really targeted exploration now with high levels of success. We only listed in June last year. We've had lots of drill programs completed successfully. We've been working with CSIRO. We've also had good metallurgy results with ANSTO, and we're now busily working on a maiden mineral resource estimate that we're looking to release this quarter. So quite a successful run since the listing in June last year, which is only 12 months ago. One of the key success factors for us has been this Airborne electromagnetic survey that we've done. So there's a psychedelic coloured picture on the right-hand side. Effectively, what we've done there is flown over 11,000 kilometres in the plane up and above these areas. And we've then been able to identify where the granites are, which are shown in green and blue. They're the original sources of the rare earths. They've then been eroded into the valleys, into these clay basins, and that's what we've then been able to identify, which are shown in the yellows and reds. And the success to date of the last drill program we did was 90% of the holes that we drilled actually returned significant high-grade rare earth results. So we think this is the key to success, minimises our exploration costs and obviously maximises our development potential. Go to the next slide. We can have a look at the geology of it all. The geology there, you can see on the top right-hand corner a map of A to B. That's a 40-kilometre cross-section there, 4 major prospects that run through that cross-section. And in the darker pinks are the Baranya granites, which are the original hosts of the rare earths that have been eroded into these basins. So if we look at the next slide, we'll then have a look at each of those prospects. And you can see that the grades there for each of the prospects are well up above those 1,000 parts per million. The grades are good. But if you look at the size of the areas of each of these basins, 136 square kilometres at centre is massive. Clay cover 5 to 10 metres, and metallurgical recoveries obviously up there and quite important as well. You can see a good cross section here. So there's 5 kilometres in width that we're doing. We're actually now just drilling the length of this, which is looking to be about 17 to 20 kilometres in length. So you can times out the numbers here, length by width, by depth, by bulk density, and there's lots and lots of tonnes out there. Going forward, what we want to do is there's no point having lots of tonnes. You want the quality tonnes. And on the right-hand side there, you can see an area that we think will be high quality. The met results are good there. The thicknesses are 50 to 70 metres in thickness. They're close to surface, low stripping ratios. That looks like a bonanza zone to a large extent. So for us, that's very successful. You can see the black dots there are the drilling that we've already done in the last 12 months. The yellow dots are what we are doing now. So that centre slide that we're looking at before, it just shows you the area that we're dealing with, and it's a massive area. We're currently drilling out there, expecting to get results. So we'll have the drill program completed in the next 4 weeks, and we'll have results later this quarter in terms of assay results. It's also co-funded by the WA government there, the drilling program with their early exploration incentive scheme. Metallurgy results. So there's lots of talk in the rare earth sector about metallurgy results and what's good, what's bad, what leached agents use. The reality is it comes down to what grade have you got. If you've got a high grade, you can afford more. If you can get higher recoveries, you can also afford more. So we're using a simple hydrochloric acid leach, which gets the ionic proportion and also the acid soluble portion that then gives us the high recoveries from there. We'll be looking to use a thing called a chloroalkali process, which takes salt and water with some renewable energy, produces hydrochloric acid on site, and then also produces a base on site that we then use to precipitate out the final product, but then also neutralise the material as it goes back into, obviously, the mine voids and then rehabilitated. So that's an important differentiation. The grades are good, and also the recoveries are good as a result. Another important aspect on the metallurgy side of things is that we can upgrade the ore body itself by removing the coarse fraction. So anything bigger than 75 microns, we will potentially remove out of the processing and acid consumption pathways. So that will then obviously decrease our reagent requirements and what we need to treat in terms of capital size, etc. And all this testing is happening at ANSTO, CSIRO, Murdoch, along with a whole heap of mineralogy. ANSTO's currently tested over 25 different samples across these areas. We've got another 75 samples currently with them that are just commencing their pathways through the testing program there. And we expect about another 100 samples to come out of the current drilling program that will go to them later this year as well. So it's a big program. We don't composite and we keep it very separate for numerous reasons. So what it all leads to is a maiden mineral resource estimate that we're looking to put out this quarter. So low share price, it's a great time to be investing in these. We've got good grade, we've got good magnetic rare earths. The thickness in the scale is big. We expect to put out probably what we believe will be one of the biggest initial resources that has been seen in Australia for a clay-hosted rare earth, and then we'll look to upgrade that based on the new drilling that's occurring as we speak later in the year or maybe early next year. And the leach results will obviously continue to drive where we look for these things. So it's a good time to get on board from that point of view. Corporate snapshot, I won't go through this in detail. We're a very simple company, 102 million shares with some options, sitting at an enterprise value of 20 odd million, a market cap of 23 million. Well and truly undervalued based on obviously all the end of financial sell-offs that occurred. It's a great time to get on board. We've all got skin in the game, and there's $3.5 million cash in the bank at the end of the year, financial year, and we're spending about $1.2 million a quarter. So plenty of buffer there for what we need to do. There's investment highlights. So we are located near Esperance. There's existing ports there. There's existing roads. I haven't touched on the rare earth thematic, but everyone should be aware that rare earths are a topical comment. Everyone's trying to westernise the supply chain by building new mines outside of China and having processing facilities outside of China as well to get to the final products that go into wind turbines and electric vehicles. We believe we've got a globally significant discovery, and that will be realised when we release a maiden mineral resource estimate this quarter, and then continue to upgrade that over the next 12 to 18 months. The metallurgy results are good, and we'll continue to optimise those with ANSTO. And as I mentioned, less than 5% is what we've drilled to date of that clay basin area. We're expecting to grow that mineral resource significantly over time. And the board of management that's involved, geologists, metallurgists, project development guys, and corporate professionals that have taken things from exploration all the way through to development. So we know how to do these things. Thanks for everyone's time today.
Brett, thank you for the great presentation. As a shareholder myself, it's actually good to hear the updates. Let me jump into some questions for you. So have you tested if these are ionic absorption clays in both projects?
Not in grass patch, that's currently being tested at the moment. The Splinter Rock we have, there's a small portion of it that is ionic, but to get the recoveries that will need to be economic, we'll need to get the acid soluble, which is what virtually all the Australian and overseas clay-hosted rare earth projects will need to do as well. So we will need to use acid.
Thank you. And perhaps a little early for this one, but based on your current information, can the rare earth minerals be economically extracted and processed into a saleable product?
Good question. As you say, a little bit early. We sort of refer people back to IXR, which are based in Uganda. They're doing a similar project. The grade's about 800 ppm. We expect ours to be above 1,000. They've been able to put out a positive DFS. We think we can better those numbers. So yes, we think it's economic.
Wonderful, Brett. Well, that's all we've got time for today. A copy of today's recording will be available online in the coming days, but thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for everyone's time using yours.